Good grief, it feels like every few months another remake or remaster gets announced. Okay, maybe that statement was a bit extreme, but to my recollection, didn't the 3D All-Stars collection just come out not too long ago? I'm all for a re-release when it's warranted, especially for those that haven't experienced the classics. Yet, I can't help but to think we've been relying on the familiarity of what we are conditioned to far too often, hesitant to take risks moving forward. And to be quite honest, the fact this collection didn't come bundled with Galaxy 2 is mind-blowing. I mean, the original Super NES All-Stars collection released as a 4-pack and eventually repackaged as a 5-piece. Now, that's what I call a deal. Still though, another re-release of Mario Galaxy? It's one thing to have a classic movie remastered or restored that has been lost to time, yet when it comes to gaming collectively, do we really need this treatment so frequently? Personally, I think many of the OG Wii releases still look great, and depending on the hardware you're packing, it can really make a difference in presentation. Maybe I'm just being an old head here, but many of these games are a visual masterpiece in their own original format, and in my opinion, they don't always translate well when deviating away from their original medium. Listen, can we just appreciate art for what it is? We have the Virtual Console available to us, so why not use these advancements to create something much grander in scale, instead of rewriting history with bonus features? Why not toss in a few sequels here and there that build on the original core concepts? And by the way, have we really resulted in selling cardboard trinkets? I thought this was a popcorn bucket for the upcoming Galaxy 2 movie. I do love using my imagination, but come on now, I'm not sure what the hell to do with this. Looks like recycled Labo to me. Don't get it twisted, I love a good replay every so often, but I would much prefer a spiritual successor than more of the same old. Be sure to thumbs down this video if these opinions offend you. I promise I won't get butthurt. Plus, I'm not looking for a review copy in the foreseeable future. So again, to each their own, but in my opinion, if we lack the creative juices to develop new concepts and ideas, I can't help but to think that's the definition of virtual purgatory. The beauty in the prehistoric era of gaming I grew up on was watching the evolution of these franchises. Listen, maybe you're curious about the thread count on Mario's overalls, or the year his golden coins were minted at the Miyamoto treasury, but I'm the type of guy more interested in his upbringing in Brooklyn. I mean, I want to learn about the other Marios. I personally would take a new experience over graphical fidelity, which is why I've decided for the time being to just enjoy my back catalog. And again, if the future of gaming was to end here today, I'm perfectly okay playing through my bucket list to the end of time. You only get 100 years to live, so why not plan a little ahead? Besides, I got a good amount of level grinding ahead of me for a few upcoming videos, so I need to set some time aside for them. If you ever wondered why I don't cover RPGs on this channel, well, there's your answer, but in my opinion, when I do cover them, you'll know exactly where my heart lies. This is what I call 2D perfection. Hey, how about this, Nintendo? If you want to remaster something, why not do a subset of Game Boy DX remasters? Just a simple splash of color on top of those amazing black and white Game Boy games. No, not like that. Again, that should have been an entirely new entry with its own set of written rules. Speaking of DX re-releases, if you think the little guy featured in today's title was coming to fruition without taking risks, then you're sadly mistaken. And although these risks don't always pay off, their influence would often leave a lasting impression. In fact, as I stated previously, Mr. Gimmick was a real trailblazer, developed by some of the most brilliant minds at the time, creating one of the best NES platformers we wouldn't play here stateside until many years after its release. Yet, Gimmick's legacy across the gaming landscape would have a lasting impact. It's debatable that Mr. Gimmick's influence bled over into another cast of crazy creatures, one of whom would go on to change the way we perceive platformers to this very day. You almost gotta ask yourself where he got that little magical star of his from. Perhaps during a trip to another dream world of sorts. Makes you wonder, huh? Well, this wouldn't be the only hero inspired by the star riding stud. Another mastermind behind the scenes going by the name Yuichi Ueda, whom took a great deal of inspiration from our guy in green during his tenure at Sunsoft. The Sunsoft Corporation was one that led with arms wide open, giving their artists free range to explore their own creative liberties, and it absolutely paid off too, as Ueda would go on to craft his own gimmick from the culture of that very atmosphere, and thus giving us the wonderfully bizarre realm of Trip World. And from the lively fields dancing along in the background, it appears something edible may have been digested in the boardroom to get those feelings unlocked. Just saying, folks. After our recent escapades inside the world of Gimmick, we continue our voyage across the Sunsoft universe. Our next destination leads us to a nearby galaxy, which just so happens to be home to the mysterious Trip World, a planet that lives up to the name in which it's given. Either somebody was tripping balls during the programming phase, or they were just plain tripping, because many of the inhabitants of these parts aren't quite what they appear to be. A land full of magical shapeshifters that will switch things up faster than the changing of seasons. A magical land decorated by the most wild of imaginations, and at the heart of it all lies none other than the one and only Yakopu, descendant of the Shabubu and masters of the shapeshifting arts. Wait, did you say Labubu? Good gracious no. Nothing of the sorts, you keep that thing the hell over there. The Shabubu are mythical creatures that resembles rats and rabbits, but in actuality are anatomically structured after the tiny chinchilla. Regardless of origin, these master magicians reside at the top of their planet's food chain, and Yakopu is no exception. He roams this planet under the supervision of his grandfather, whom is essentially the watcher of this wacky world, guardian of the Maita flower. This mythical yellow flower grows specifically atop Mount Dubious, a blessed region of Trip World that enriches this flower at its roots. Its unique properties is solely responsible for maintaining balance in an already chaotic world, justifying its legendary moniker, the Flower of Peace. Yet as the flow of time passes along, evil entities move behind the scenes, culminating a plot to overpower the mountain's guardian, looking to seize the flower's power for their nefarious intent. In a show of brute force, the ancient petals would soon be plucked from its sacred mantle, now used to overpower its guardian, ripping the very heart of Trip World from its core. With the flower removed, the planet's equilibrium is quickly thrown out of balance, causing its inhabitants to suddenly fill with rage. With his planet now spiraling into utter chaos, Yakopu looks to avenge his grandfather's defeat, following in his footsteps to reclaim the Flower of Peace and restore order to his homeworld. Now, if you think the wild aesthetic across the box art is bizarre, wait till you see what lies inside. This tiny little adventure tackles traditional platforming radically different than what you're typically accustomed to. Trip World focuses primarily on the journey. It's not about a starting nor ending point. It's more so intended to be played with the idea of simply having fun, exploring these immersive environments and interacting with those that inhabit them. There's no cheap death pits or timers to stack the odds against you, and the way you engage with enemies in combat is quite genius. Inflicting damage to enemies in a traditional platformer would typically come by means of a head stomp or some sort of collision box, taking or receiving damage on contact. In Trip World, these interactions will merely send you bouncing back, dealing and receiving damage the way a classic 2D fighter kinda would, you know, by throwing those hands. Aside from boss encounters, a majority of enemies entertain the idea of engagement on a case-by-case scenario. In fact, a large majority of these encounters will only result in bloodshed when the creatures feel provoked, so in other words, don't go around poking the bear. Outside boss encounters, you can essentially do a near-perfect pacifist run, leaving most of your homies unharmed. And you know, sometimes you just gotta be the bigger person and walk away. You never want to lose a friend over a misunderstanding, especially over a tiny little flower. So just spread the love, man, relax. Again, try to keep it classy here, focusing a bit more on those lifelong friendships you've invested in. Now, redirecting our focus back to this game's central gimmick. Hey, see what I did there? That being Yakopu's shapeshifting capabilities. This is where I believe this tiny little dude shines the brightest. Let's begin with the basics of shapeshifting 101. Starting out in his cute cuddly base form that will be ideal for traversing the mainlands, using his lucky rabbit's feet to make his ascent. These uncharted terrains slowly evolve, and you'll need to adapt to these conditions accordingly, switching between Yakopu's 3 primary transformations. You will start out in his base form chinchilla, the one standing before you here, until his fight or flight response is triggered, transforming quicker than a Dragon Ball villain as the odds become stacked against them. Yakopu can activate his flight form, hauling ass across the skies by morphing down into a tiny helichopper, taking advantage of those elongated ears of his to simulate a plane's mechanical rotor blades, uncovering new paths that await you. It's effective in small bursts, and navigation is sensitive to the touch while operable, so kicking up too much wind at any moment will find you plummeting below, so plan your flight accordingly. When the planet's alignment ushers in high tide, be sure to acclimate accordingly, sailing the high seas by zipping through the waters like a great white, only armed with some bubblicious projectiles to manage your surroundings, so be sure to master these controls or you'll soon be feeling like a fish out of water. It's brilliant by design, while hilarious in execution, captivating the player from the very start, which in my opinion is a combination for success. Keep in mind, switching between these two forms is only temporary, but will be vital for progression and at times integral when unique scenarios present themselves, so set your mental clock and get a move on. Funny enough, these groovy moves are merely the tip of the iceberg for this tiny handheld. Yakopu's got a hippie-sized backpack full of trippy psychedelics which he finds while living off the land, which will sooner than later find our guy here tripping balls. No, for real, steamrolling his way to victory. Physics will play a significant role here, as you can manipulate this pinball-inspired segment, building up enough momentum to catapult your way to safety. Here's where things get really bizarre though. In the event you're rolling around town and need to make a pit stop for some more Scooby snacks, you'll begin to see the world vastly different upon digestion, shrinking down to the micro scale to walk among the world of the gnomes. Fear not though, you may be pint-sized in stature, but your feet are every bit as fatal, hanging and banging with the very best of them. Yakopu's also got quite the green thumb. Maybe this dude is growing his own supply out here, launching tiny seedlings out at his woodland friends as a tiny peace offering. Landing one of these on a target will quickly cause a tiny sapling to sprout atop their head, causing the chaos in their minds to subdue momentarily, allowing you to maneuver past them unscathed. Just don't do anything diabolical in the moments that pass. But who am I to tell you how to live your life? In the event you discover another one of these delectables, Yakopu will soon after find he's growing a tail, as 4 tiny spherical orbs now appear behind him like a line of UAPs in the night sky. He can use these to fend off those angry mobs with far greater reach and flexibility, all while practicing safe social distancing. On the flip side, however, collecting an additional magical medley while sporting this new look of yours will allow Yakopu to tap into a mega evolution, going straight kaiju on them. You're a true legendary in this form, stomping down the aisle in style, spewing a fiery projectile at your foes, which will one-shot anything and everything standing before you. Where many adventures find you relying on various party members, unique skills, or gimmicks, these transformations make you an all-in-one package. So let's put them to the test here and now as we embark on this journey in pursuit of the ones that brought forth the chaos on our homelands. Our story opens up to our favorite shapeshifter embarking on a journey across the rigid mountain trails of Mount Dubious, investigating the now catastrophic events resulting in the disappearance of the Flower of Peace. As quickly as you begin to test out these slick new moves, you encounter many of your woodland friends whom appear distraught, almost catatonic in presence. Yakopu appears almost unrecognizable as the village locals quickly go rogue. Handle them by any means necessary, swiftly moving in and out of reality to tackle the ever-changing lands of Trip World. Be mindful here, because with great power, there must also come great responsibility, as many of your panicked pals don't appear to be causing you harm, simply freaked by the events unfolding before them. However, when they do, be ready to switch it up and go on offense, tiptoeing around the bigger brutes' puffy exteriors, and now looking to kick some knowledge into your mythical mentor of the mountains. When it comes to boss encounters, way to turn the traditional format completely on its head as you proceed to engage in Mortal Kombat. What makes things even sweeter here is he's got the perfect blend of shapeshifting techniques for any situation, and I can't help but to think this little dude would have made for a killer combatant in something like a clay fighter. And it looks like Sunsoft thought so too. Moving ahead, we venture outside the Rocky Mountain ranges for a taste of the tropics, where things only feel more unsettling. Be careful, because things don't always appear as they seem, and the nature of these lands indicate that you're not the only one with skeletons in the closet. These secrets become even more apparent as you switch gears, rolling around the tropical paradise looking for clues. These power-up combinations is a testament to Sunsoft, allowing the creative process to be crafted from a blank canvas, and it shows as each layer of the stage unfolds. Each twist and turn presents you with unique enemies and obstacles, and the sheer level of unique designs here will give the Pokemon Company a run for their money. A true rarity for an early Game Boy release. This was done with a specific design philosophy in mind. Wada felt a player didn't necessarily have to beat the adventure in order to have fun with it. Well, I for one believe he drove the point home, as I had a great deal of fun simply exploring these environments, messing around with the many over-the-top characters you discover over time. That being said, many of these boss encounters shouldn't be too difficult to overcome, as the difficulty curve takes a back seat to the many mysterious events unfolding around you. The next area perfectly encapsulates the randomness of our adventure as we journey across the far reaches of Pandaland, where you discover everything but that. An aquatic coastal ruin filled with the mysteries of the sea floor. And wait, is that who I think it is? Perhaps on a little summer vacation from Dreamland. Well, you picked the perfect time to visit, as it's now vital to grow a set of gills to get to it. Moving across the ocean current while whipping those crustaceans into shape. When your path forks, best not leave any stone unturned, looking for things that appear out of place, rewarding the untrained eye. Keep in mind, you the player aren't rewarded with points for killing enemies, it's more so by uncovering them, while performing some excellent platforming sequences to score those additional lives needed to survive. These come through engaging in those hidden battles, rewarding you for going off the beaten path. And believe me, there's a few boss encounters that can easily overwhelm you if you can't quite exploit their weak points. With all that platforming, I think it's a good time to take a load off, indulging yourself with the sweeter things in life, which will now come in the form of gourmet treats. If not careful, this Candyland will leave you with nothing but empty calories, conveyor belts that entice you with tiny bonuses and branching paths which will allow you to take full advantage of your unique characteristics, soaring across the skies or diving below as you see fit. Shoot, you even channel your inner Simon Belmont, keeping those sugar-coated night creatures in check with your wicked tail whip. The choices are yours and yours alone, and in due time, things will get more bonkers the moment you release your hidden dragon on those sweet baked goods. Words cannot express how satisfying it is to go beast mode here, and if your timing is just right, you can maintain this tirade for a fiery finale. With enough detective work, you will eventually find your way to the other side of Trip World, where Mirrorland resides, a trial that not only tests your street smarts thus far, but how well you are able to adapt when the opportunity presents itself. You roll into the castle courtyard for a playful back and forth with your feline companions, only to eventually scale your way to the upper castle decks for a royal ambush. Again, you have options to navigate this castle, sticking to the high grounds for some wicked hand-to-hand combat, or venture below into the castle catacombs where you discover the mysteries and lore behind Mirrorland. Whatever is being constructed here in the shadows is beyond me, but it's obviously something dastardly at best. These experiments inhabit the deepest depths of the castle keep, so again, take a moment of your time and explore this stone structure from top to bottom. You just might leave here today with more questions than answers, but that's sort of the charm of this adventure. As this final act looks to be coming to a close, Yakopu reaches the king's chamber. This royal ruler towers over you with a cold, calculated stare. That is until he shows his hand, revealing a few loyal subjects hidden beneath this facade, looking to ambush you when you least expect it. The two will try to body you from both sides, so keep hot-footing it along here, paying close attention to their pacing in order to hitch a ride atop them, relieving them from their duties one by one. Moments pass and the floor beneath you gives way, sending you down below where your fearless doppelganger awaits, a powerful dark double able to contort himself at will into whatever form he wishes. Looking to now switch places with you for the foreseeable future, he's lightning fast, coming at you with some speedy dive kicks, all while using his ears as large sickles to spearhead the opposition. Stick to the script here, onboarding this tiny chrome dome, leaving him in a state of panic. When the timing is right, sneak in with an offensive counter, rinse, wash and repeat, and this bootleg baddie will be sent packing back to the king for a full refund. With his reinforcements decommissioned, the king will reveal that special project being built in the castle keep. A massive mechanical shabubu resurfacing from beneath the castle floorboards and powered online, sending a series of kinetic charged blasts your way. These radioactive projectiles are large in circumference, fired with a perfect trajectory to catch you off guard with any hesitation. Fear not, if we've learned anything from our first two encounters here, it's that the king doesn't stray too far away from his initial plans, as climbing atop this war vessel will exploit a key factory defect, A blind spot that will score you some significant blows to this overstuffed bag of bolts. Continue to hammer away when the coast is clear and you're foiled this hotshot's plans once and for all. In the aftermath, we discover the king of Mirrorland is a Shabubu himself, whom alongside his villagers were the ones responsible for taking the Mighty Flower. Moments pass and an explosion occurs in the near distance, revealing the queen of Mirrorland, whom looks as if she knows her husband effed up, ironically returning the flower as a peace offering. As the exchange is made, the sapling upon the king's head quickly vanishes, alluding to the fact that he was under some sort of mind control himself. Perhaps another entity behind the scenes. However, moments pass and the king makes a full recovery as the Mighty Flower is relinquished back into the hands of Yakopu's grandfather as peace is once again restored to their homeland. Trip World is a little gem for the enthusiast at heart. It's not something I would recommend for the diehards of the genre. For that, you got your Mr. Gimmicks of the world. It's more so the product of endless potential when an artist is able to exercise their own creative liberties, deviating off the standard path by tapping into their imagination. When expression is valued, you acquire a new perspective on things, creatively placing a unique twist on exploration along with collaboration to deliver exceptional audio and visuals that makes this one of Sunsoft's greatest handheld entries of all time. Again, Trip World is all about the journey. The goal was never to push the player to the brink of extinction, but merely make that experience inviting, enticing the audience with stylized play features, quirky characters, whimsical melodies, and best of all, trippy as all hell power-ups that makes you question your choices at all times. It's the perfect game for the perfect handheld, further strengthening Sunsoft's pedigree of software while further contributing to a renaissance period in gaming history when it was needed the most. It's these tiny offerings that enables me to sit down and hash out my thoughts in a script, elaborating on the early creative philosophies attached to them. It's just as enjoyable to spend the time learning about these games as it is to play them, and just like the brilliant minds at Sunsoft, it's always better to voice your own opinion than quote the masses, and that's what we do here on my channel. See you next time, gang.